going to do a quick one here because I think this is going to help a lot of knees and a lot of hips. So I finished the first draft of my book, and I'm sorry, I'm just checking if I pressed the record button. Yes, I did. All right, I'm back. So I just finished the book, well, the first draft of the book, and a couple of things were always bothering me. And I want to address one of them today, which is the knees out discussion. A couple of weeks ago, I saw something that Julian from StrongFit posted about a study being done that who knew knees in activated more of the glute max than knees out. And that's already interesting. I mean, we know it from practice that knees out doesn't do anything. So the point here is, which I describe in the book in detail, is muscle move joints. So only focusing on rotation, which basically is you have to create external rotation and press your knees out and get your chest up, is not working. Yes, the knees will come out, but I'm debating, and I have a pretty strong argument now through practicing it with my peeps, that it's not about the knees out or knees in, it's actually how to get there. So muscle move joints, what does that mean? Think about doing a squat. When I say squat, I don't necessarily mean like an air squat or like a straight up and down, like an Olympic squat style. I'm interested in how can I load the human body as heavy as possible to load big muscle groups, right? That's my thing. That's training. I'm not an anatomy guy. I'm training people to make them stronger. So we all agree that to go down in the squat, think about a box squat. That means shooting your hips back, putting the pressure, the tension on the hamstrings and the glutes when you go down. I think that's non-debatable. So the fun part is, I watched a video of Eddie Cohen a couple of days ago where he literally said, I don't care about knees out. I was like, what do you mean? And I listened to him, and he said, all I care about on a heavy squat is if I'm breaking at the hips first, that means if I'm loading my hip and not my knees. Knees first means quads, hips back means glutes and hamstrings, and opening up the groin. I was like, what does that mean, opening up the groin? So I dug a little bit deeper. And I actually tried something with my peeps in the Saturday morning class. I did sandbag box squats with them. So that means they're going to set up pretty wide stands, because the wider your stance, the more need for tension towards the inside, which is what we're looking for. The more your hips get challenged. And then I set up a height for them, box height for them, where they can squat to. I took the height of them holding a fairly heavy sandbag, either front squat, like in a front rack, or in a bear hug position, where I saw that the knees were coming forward. So that means they were sending the hips back, knees tracking the toes, perpendicular, like straight, I don't know if it's the right word, whatever, straight shins, just shooting your hips back, right? And I was looking for where's the moment where they want to default and shoot their knees forward. So rather than keep loading the hips, once your hips are fully loaded, like in your mobility, in your range of motion and attention, that means the only way you can go down is shooting your knees forward, which is literally what you don't want to do in a box squat. So I found that height for every single person, and then I challenged them, like, what's that, like 2-3 centimeters below that. So they have to earn their mobility of engaging and loading the hamstrings and their hips. Hamstrings and hips means hamstrings and glutes first, without relying on the quads to get up. All right, so once you reach that box position, and I watched like 5,000 videos of Louis Simmons and Dave Tate explaining the box squat, that means once you're in that position, that means your shins are vertical, you've fully loaded your hamstrings and your glutes, and you touch the box, you actually literally relax your hip flexors. That only means basically letting go of your glutes and your hamstrings, right? So it doesn't have to do anything with your trunk or your key spine or anywhere else. This is all you have to do is relax your hips, so your hips can reset once they go up. That means reload them and then go straight up without shooting your knees forward. Fun thing happened. Some really strong people couldn't stand up with like a 50 kilo sandbag, which is a lightweight for them. So they couldn't properly load their hips. So I was like, what's happening here? So I dug deeper into the hamstring, the lateral hamstring, so the bigger portion of the hamstring, and the glutes. The fun thing about the hamstring is the bigger part, like the lateral part, the biceps femoris, attaches on the outside of the knee, actually on the fibula, so like the outer bone of your lower leg, so to speak, right? And all the way up, obviously, on the backside of your pelvis. So I was like, what if the knee actually moves out because of the engagement and the tension created in the hamstring and the glutes? I think what nobody realizes about the glutes, we think about the glutes like the ass, but once you, I'm sorry for disturbing the mic, but I'm really excited now. One thing that I didn't know about the glutes was I thought about it's the ass and the ass muscle and the hip muscle, but it actually has a connection with the tensor fasciae latae, so the TFL, and the IT band. That means your glutes go all the way from your hips to the outside of your knee. So I was like, wait. What if glute and hamstring engagement, literally, once it contracts eccentrically on the way down, obviously. So eccentrically means the muscle gets longer, right? Concentrically means it gets shorter. Eccentrically means it gets longer. What if that loading motion pulls the knee out, and it's not pressing the knees out, it's not displacing the joint, it's actually those two fully engaging, and that brings the knees out to the side. I tried it on my own. I tried it with my people. It's like, this is what's happening here. This is not about, okay, a cue of pressing your knees out. Pushing your joint out means nothing for muscle engagement. The muscle moves the joint, not the joint moves the muscle. I rewatched all of the videos from Louis Simmons and Dave Tate and Eddie Cohen and all the big guys, and nobody talked about rotation. Zero. None of them talked about rotation. What they mentioned, Dave Tate, for example, is you have to learn your muscle to engage in a certain order. And the first one is isometric, and then is concentric, and then is eccentric. So I was like, okay, so that's why the sandbag plus the box squat works so well, because the sandbag forces you to create tension towards the inside, and then everything, well, if you load it correctly, falls into place. So what I'm trying to say here is, yes, the knee is coming out, but we have to avoid cueing that the knees have to be pushed out, because that's either deplacing your feet, like rolling out to the outside of your foot. That's either just literally like pushing your knees out without any hamstring and glute engagement. Without hamstring and glute engagement, the knees out is devastating, is ruining your knees and is ruining your hips. It's a nice position, but not backed off with muscle tension. I think that's a big one, because that's going to save a lot of hips and a lot of knees. If you want to try this out, and I actually just did that, like you can go in a sumo stance and then pretend you're going to sit your ass on whatever, the toilet or whatever, like a chair. See what your kneecaps are doing. If your shins stay vertical, that means you're fully engaging your hamstrings and your glutes. Your kneecaps are first pointing forward, and once you engage the hamstring and the glutes, they're turning out, right? I actually put a laser on my knee, like a laser pointer on my knee. I attached it. I was like, wait. So it's starting here, and then it's literally moving out without me rotating at the hips or without me rotating the knee or whatever rotation is needed. It's not needed. It's the muscle engagement that brings the knee to the outside. And as a little summary, I think that's because we're neglecting that the glute max is actually attaching or combining, not combining, what's the word? Aligning and connecting is the word, connecting your knee and your hips. And that's why it's so important. Plus, obviously, the hamstring too, because the hamstring, as we all know, is attached on the knee, outside on the knee, the lateral hamstring, and on the backside of your pelvis. I think that's a big one. I'm already done the book. I'm going to put some fancy pictures and videos in here so you guys can better understand the deal. I think that's a big one. Any questions, bring it up. I'm excited. This is going to change a lot of hips and knees and the way we coach, not only a squat, but in general movement. Looking forward to releasing the book soon, and love you guys. Movement is awesome.